20 years later, who'da thunk it?
Not me.
This, the Peewee character actually, as I understand, was developed long before the movie came out. You created it as part of an improv group here in LA called the Groundlings, right?
Yes.
Along with some other characters. We're going to talk about some of the other characters after the film, but what was the inspiration for Peewee?
Peewee was really, there was an extended improv being done one night at the Groundlings that was about a fictional comedy club, like the Comedy Store. And so everybody was trying to come up with characters who would be stand-up comics at a comedy club. And I can't ever remember the punchline to joke. So my character was a guy who really was a terrible stand-up comic, and that became Peewee. I know, it's a really, you'd think in 20 years I'd have a better story than that, but.
How long did it take to evolve Peewee from that first improv into the fully formed character that we know today?
You know, it really kind of just came out that day. It never changed really very much from the first time till right this moment. It's pretty much been the same character all along. I think it was based, the voice came from a voice I had used in a play a long time before that, and I knew a kid named, I'm not going to say his name, but his last name was Herman. And he was like this, he was probably a kid who had like obsessive compulsive disorder and what's the one what's the thing, ADD, like, you know, all that stuff a long time ago, undiagnosed, and he was just like this kid bouncing off the walls that he was part of the inspiration for.
Now, for the film, you'd successfully created the character, you'd done some live shows and a cable special, and so Warner Brothers said, Paul, we want you to do a Peewee feature. What was the inspiration for this specific story?
I was writing I was kind of, well, not an official remake because I didn't have permission, but I was rewriting Walt Disney's Pollyanna as a vehicle for Pee Wee Herman. That's what the movie was going to be. Seriously, not a joke. I loved that movie as a kid. I really wanted an excuse to like lay in a bed and have somebody go like, you know, blah, 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 and me go like, I don't know. You know, that was the scene I wanted to play. So I was rewriting Pollyanna, almost an exact, you know, version of that movie, only insert me instead of Haley Mills. The only people that are laughing are the people who know that movie, because it would have been a good movie, but but it never happened. And instead, and I was on the lot working with a guy named Michael Varhall and Phil Hartman, and we were writing this Pollyanna-ish movie, and I would walk around on the lot every day on the way to lunch or whatever, and everybody was riding a bike. Everyone on the lot had a bike, all the electricians, everyone pretty much. And so I was complaining to these two producers one day, like, you know, what do you have to do to get a bike? How do you get a bike here? And about a week later, they presented me with a I want to say 37, but it might have been a 47 Schwinn Racer, this beautiful orange bicycle that's actually the bicycle on the poster for the movie. And it was outside. I went to lunch, and when I came back to lunch, they had like put up a sign with a parking space for me out in front for this bike, and the bike had, I think it said Peewee or Paul or something on it, and I just looked at the bike and went, oh my God, you know, this is the movie. Peewee's Bike, and the bike gets stolen. That's the movie. And I mean, literally, we ran back in this bungalow and ripped up, this is back in the paper days, we ripped up we pulled the paper out of the IBM Selectric typewriter and ripped it up and never looked back. I mean, wrote that movie probably in about 6 weeks after that.
And the rest, as they say, is history. What were some of the other characters you were doing when you were at the Groundlings, by the way?
I had lots of characters at the Groundlings, but that's even more than 20 years ago. I can't remember very much about it. I had a cartoonist character, I had a short order cook character, I had a American Indian lounge singer character, lots. I hear a familiar laugh. Before I forget, could I introduce someone who's in the audience?
Please do.
Diane Salinger, who plays Simone, right there. We were reunited later, a few years later, playing the Penguin's mother and father in Batman Returns. Remember? Thank you, thank you.
Well, speaking of that, let's talk about your relationship with Tim Burton. Now you went to Cal Arts, didn't you?
I did.
Were you there at the same time that Tim was a student?
No.
So you just have the shared alma mater. How did you meet Tim, and how did Tim become the director of Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
The director of Pee-wee's Big Adventure was going to be somebody different. I turned the script into Warner Brothers and included a list. I got a book called Directors, I think it was called. And it had everyone who had ever directed a movie in it. And so I went through the whole book and I made a list. I probably had 200 names on this list of directors. And anybody who'd made a movie I liked. Excuse me, I had dinner while you guys were watching the movie. I really did, and I'm really burping. I turned in a list of 100 directors, maybe 200 directors, and went on vacation while Warner Brothers read the script. And they came back and said, here's the director of the movie, which wasn't someone who was even on my list. And it was someone who had made 2 movies that I really didn't like very much. And so I said, no, that can't be the director of the movie. And my 2 managers at the time pulled me aside and said, you don't understand how this works here. You have a green-lit picture if you agree to this guy. And if you don't, these people could be gone. This is at Warner Brothers, where the people that we were talking about, Terry Semmel and who?
Bob Daly.
Bob Daly. Went another almost 20 years, I think. But at the time they were going, they could be gone tomorrow, and you're blowing this. I somehow got Warner Brothers to agree to give me 1 more week, which I think they were just kind of like, take 1 more week. We're never approving anybody else. And I went to a party that same night and was asking everybody I knew at the party, do you know any movie directors, any new movie directors? And a woman who was in the Groundlings with me, who's gone on to do a lot of writing and performing, named Mary Edith Burrell, told me, oh my God, I just saw this movie this morning. I think she had seen it that morning. Frankenweenie. The guy is the perfect director for you. And Shelley Duvall's in the movie. You could call Shelley. So I called Shelley Duvall up, and she went, oh my God, he's a great idea. What a great idea. You guys would be perfect. And I went back to Warner Brothers, and we said, Tim Burton. And they said, yeah, we know who Tim Burton is. We're trying to get Tim Burton to direct something over here at Warner Brothers. We already know about him. We're not even going to send him your script. He's already turned down 10 projects here. We can't find something he wants to direct. And they wouldn't send him the script, so my manager sent him the script, and he agreed the same day. I love that story.